No, I mean, you go back to biblical times, they were 1-to-1. Geologically, it's 7-to-1, meaning it used to be 16-to-1 for 5,000 years. And now the geological ratio, because silver is depleting, your skin is epidermal. Silver is found in nature, something called epidermis, and silver is called epithermal. It's right near the surface. So the big deposits were found long ago. It's disappearing, it's depleting. It used to be 16-to-1, it's now 7-to-1. Geologically, the ratio is 7 ounces of silver is mined for every 1 ounce of gold. And the interesting thing is, to your point, the organization, the branch of the U.S. government who wrote this critical minerals list is called the United States Geological Survey Commission. They're the ones who came out a year or two ago and said, in their estimation, silver could be one of, if not the first element struck from the periodic table of elements because it's depleting so fast. So to your point, from a standpoint of utility, of need, it's massively needed. There's nothing like it that conducts energy or light and heat the way that silver does. It's needed. You know, copper, people say, no, it's too slow, it doesn't work as well. It's needed. And to see it disappearing the way that it is, to see it be called critical, to see China say we're going to mitigate our exports, and when it's called critical, the U.S. can no longer export it if they decide to, if the president decides to. When you talk about it in relation to gold, yeah, I mean, it could very well close that gap. Could it go 1-to-1? Sure. There's more gold out there than we know, but it wouldn't really be in the vested interest if it was the United States, for example, that held a lot more gold wherever. Bix talks about the Grand Canyon gold, and you know that's probably not going to come out anytime soon. But
sure.
even still, if you took every ounce of gold on the planet, I don't even think there's 1 ounce for every person that's living. If you took the number of people living and the ounces of gold, it's a finite supply any way you look at it, and that's the allure. That's why it's been money. And one of the key characteristics of money is that it is a finite supply, that it is not something that can continue to expand forever at the whim of a politician. So any way you look at it. But one of the things that I focus a lot on is, you know, the big money that's importing metal into the United States. We don't know who that big money is. We can assume, we can say maybe it's the Treasury, or who knows. We can see all this gold and silver flowing. We can talk about China going as the second largest producer in the world, buying all the doré and the concentrate from Mexico and Peru, paying double what the West will and shipping it back and refining it themselves. We know silver is important, but we look at the deliveries into COMEX. Now, here you're talking the most sophisticated Western traders on the planet. I mean, the most sophisticated traders in the world, and they're on Wall Street. And whoever the hell is bringing in all this silver, like a good example of it is the November contract. Now, November is not a delivery month for silver. The next delivery month is December. So far, just in the first 10 days or so of the November delivery month, which isn't a primary delivery month. You can take delivery, but it's not a delivery month from a contract standpoint. We've seen, last I looked, which was 2 days ago, 3,029 contracts were delivered as of a couple days ago at 5,000 ounces apiece. That's 15,145,000 ounces of silver. Who the hell is doing this every single month since November? We've been seeing this every single month since November. And we don't know
since
who
last
it is.
November? Since this
yeah,
November?
That's when Trump won the election. But what it shows for the silver delivery volume, that it's massive in a non-delivery month. There is big money who isn't just big money. To your point, they have all the information, and information is key. They know where the ball is going, and whoever it is keeps bringing in billions of dollars worth of silver into the COMEX every month and taking possession or leaving some in the exchange in what's called a eligible account. Now that it's not for delivery, it's being held in strong hands. But the amount of gold and silver coming into the country is unlike anything anyone has ever seen before in both metals. And I would argue these are the people who know the inside scoop. They don't do things at that level just for the hell of it. You're talking the biggest, most sophisticated money in the world who's closest to the information. They know where this is going. But I can tell you, I don't even think we're barely 10th on the list globally. The majority of it comes from Mexico and Peru. mining over the last, when you talk about suppressing price in dollars in particular, around the world, prices went much higher against other currencies than it has against the dollar long ago, because the dollar has been so strong as the reserve currency. But what I would say is, when you have silver being held down to stupid levels for such a long time, it really hurts the ability to explore. I mean, it's expensive to explore and to dig and to mine. You have the energy costs, the cost of labor, and just the cost of everything. It's a very labor and cost intensive industry. With silver not performing the way anyone thought it should, counterintuitively, that affected not only the major miners, but also the juniors and the exploration companies, who have been left for dead with no investment. And it's too expensive to do much in terms of meaningful mining. You contrast that with China. For years, they've been mining gold and silver, even if it was uneconomical, because they see the big picture. They think in terms of decades or longer, and we don't. And so, yeah, we're at a massive, I don't know, it's a problem. And you're seeing the Trump administration sign deals with some domestic mining companies to mine strategic elements on their behalf, and silver will benefit from that. But it's too bad that the ambition of maybe the military industrial complex, I would argue, to hold down the price has dramatically affected the ability for exploration and junior mining companies to look for silver. A client who spent a lot of time in the mining industry up in the Iron Belt, up in northern Minnesota. I mean, I'm from Minnesota, so I'm very familiar with it. But the stories that he will tell you, it's crazy. You're right. They've done everything they can to mothball what should be exploited, instead of going around the world and being reliant on every other country, many of which we're not aligned with geopolitically, for things like silver or critical minerals or rare earths or any of the things that we need. Is silly. Many of the arguments that we see coming from that side of the aisle lack logic. And, it's at some point you have to think about national security. And when you realize that the U.S. literally imports almost all of its silver, yet it is needed in so many respects, it's about time that they reclassified it a critical mineral. It should have been done a long time ago. And the folks in Canada tried to call it strategic about 2 years ago to have it reclassified, and it is. And that's, it's funny, because a lot of the things that I've been talking about for a long time, gold and silver, which are really the opposite of the dollar, are now being quietly embraced by the U.S. government. And both gold and silver are kind of no longer contrarian as much as they once were. Now, maybe for the mainstream it still is, but the government is looking at gold and silver as far more than archaic relics from the past. In fact, I think they are looking at gold to be part of the monetary system, and looking at silver as strategic and critical as it really truly is, especially in a world that is digital. You talk about transmission of energy. It transmits civilization. Without silver, you do not have the ability to have the infrastructure that is needed to be a growing, thriving civilization. It's really important, and I think it's someone tapped Trump on the shoulder and said it's about time that we do this for this country, and I'm thankful for that. And what they've done is make it a matter of national security and national policy. They put a floor under the price of silver. I do believe that. And then you look at the largest refiner in the world, China, saying, well, we're not going to export very much anymore. It's becoming a battle. Then you look at the supplies on the London Metals Exchange, the LBMA, that are literally being bled dry. We've talked about extensively. Things are going to get interesting. And when we talk about silver, Sarah, I don't tell people to buy it to get rich or to get wealthy. It is wealth. But when you look at the size of the market cap of the silver market, it's a pimple on the elephant's rear end. It's such a small market cap. If you start to all of a sudden throw in government money, you're going to have a battle between the industrials, Tesla, Samsung, Sony, the hedge funds who smell blood in the water, the investors, and the government. All three are going to be vying for the same ounce of silver the potential is massive, and it's not why you buy it, but it is truly has an extraordinary story behind it.
That's
and
right.
I think government acknowledging
It's
that
interesting.
puts an exclamation point behind it. I think that a lot of what Trump is trying to do is actually to reshore manufacturing, and you do so by, that's one way of starting the ball to incentivize, in essence, a weaker dollar. And because many of the tariffs that he's putting on are more like sanctions than they are tariffs.
Yeah.
I really do believe that the ultimate goal of this administration is to find a way to bring home manufacturing. The only way to do that is to massively debase the dollar. You even hear Main Street talking about the debasement trade, about the debasing dollar. You let that happen by letting the price of gold and silver go gold in particular and Bitcoin go much, much higher, which devalues the dollar. Case in point, you look at it and compare it to silver. First of all, the dollar's down 8 or 9% against the dollar index this year, but it's down 70% against silver, even with the recent pullback. So the dollar is falling against the barometers, that's gold or silver. And I think that's exactly what they're trying to do, is to devalue the dollar, to reshore manufacturing, to get rid of the reserve status, as the former chief economic advisor for the Biden administration mentioned, and he wrote a report called Dethrone King Dollar. Jared Bernstein, knucklehead he was, but the whole thing
was
is
a knucklehead.
to get rid of the reserve status because of Triffin's dilemma. Vice President Vance has said that, and all of the moves that they are making are saying that you look at Tether, which now has almost 13 billion in gold. What all of this means is that if you save in dollars, you're screwed. You do not want to save in dollars. And this is a prime example this year where silver, with its recent pullback, although it's right back up to 53 bucks in the futures, 53.20 right now, it's right back to where it was. It's up 70+% against the dollar, but the dollar index shows its dollar's only down 8 or 9%. Up 70 or down 9, this is the problem. You don't see it unless you measure it against something like gold or silver. They want a devalued dollar, and that the tariffs are just another part of it to push everyone away from the dollar being the world reserve currency. I really do believe that's what they want to do, as crazy as it sounds. It's the only way.